Let me know if this sounds familiar. You have finally decided that your idea is good enough to start writing your book. You've got your perfect writing nook, you've made a coffee, you've opened your laptop or your notebook, whatever writing app you're using, and then absolutely nothing happens. You know what you want to write, but how do you actually start it? What is that perfect magical first line that is going to hook your reader in and pull them into the story that you want to tell them? You might even type a few experimental words and then delete because they're not the right ones. Well, that's when you start spiraling into the worry, the idea that it has to be perfect, that you need to impress the reader, that you must have that perfect first line before you can go any further. And then after 10 minutes of absolute paralysis, you have to pack up, decide you'll try again tomorrow, but you never actually go back to it because you're still scared of getting that first line wrong. Does any of that sound familiar? Because if it does, I'm going to share a little bit of a technique to get you out of that spiral of worry and panic, because what matters isn't that your first line is perfect. What matters is that you have an actual book written, regardless of whether or not the first line is perfect. So I'm going to share with you this technique that I found really useful when I was writing my books. So the very first thing I'm going to get you to do is set a timer for 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes, that's all I'm going to give you. And write some first line. Write your first line, doesn't matter what it is, 2 minutes, that's all you've got to do. Just got to get through those 2 minutes and write a first line. Pause this video, come back to it when you've done that. So I want to know, did you actually write anything? Did you stare at the blank page like we talked about? Now if you've got something, brilliant, that's done. You can move on, right? Except you're probably not happy with it. You probably think it's rubbish. You probably think that you could do better. You could hook the reader into a story more. Well, I've got some great news for you. Whatever you did in that scenario, either way, your first line does not matter. Remember that. Your first line does not matter, because when you are writing a novel, when you haven't completed a first draft, when you haven't even written a word or got to the end, wherever you are in the process, the first line currently does not matter. This is your draft. It's meant to be messy. It's meant to be not quite right. You're meant to find things that you can fix. And the great thing about drafts is you can change them more than once. You can change them as many times as you like, and trust me, we do. At this stage of the writing, when you're just starting out on your draft, you cannot write anything wrong. It's a really great thing to write down somewhere in your writing nook. You cannot write anything wrong. And to prove that, I'm going to suggest that you write 10 different first lines and then just choose one of those to go with for now. This is your first line for now, not forever. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just starts you on that journey. So you can always change your mind later on. And knowing this is actually the trick to writing your whole first draft, because nothing is permanent at this stage. So you are completely off the hook. That is the fun of a first draft. I'm just going to go through a few ways that you can start your novel. So these are some common starting sentences that you can try out for yourself. So first of all, we have, this is what happened. You can actually start your story literally with the words, this is what happened, and tell the story from there. If it's good enough for writers like Douglas Fairbairn, it's good enough for you. And this actually takes that pressure off, because it just tells you that this is what you're going to write. You're going to write what has happened. So you can use it as a good placeholder. Now the second one is starting with a sweeping statement. Who doesn't love a sweeping statement? So you can have the Anna Karenina one, your Pride and Prejudice, something about your novel that is a statement. So try and make it fun, surprising, a bit contradictory. So you might not say love conquers all. You might sort of think about how you might phrase it. Like, people tell you that love conquers all, love can conquer all, but actually I've discovered some conquests will never have a happy ending. So you can start to see that that could be a good placeholder for a first line, because it talks about the theme, the sweeping statement theme of your novel. Number 3 is starting with just plain facts. So The Invisible Man starts with, I am an invisible man. The secret history begins. So just tell us one fact about your novel. Whether or not it's about your main character, the world they live in, the landscape, just make sure it's a fact and start with that. Now, one of my favourites is to start with the anomaly. So we all know that 1984 starts with that enigmatic 13th hour. And for example, Middlesex, that has that character who's born more than once. So is there anything really odd or the unexpected where you can start your story with the first line that the reader is just immediately like, what? I have to read on. Still struggling? Start with a good old tradition. Once upon a time, in a place far, far away. They are classics for a reason. And then you've also got the good old atmosphere. Who hasn't heard of the It Was a Dark and Stormy Night line? The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath starts, it was a queer, sultry summer. The summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. That is an atmosphere, is it not? So what atmosphere can you create in a single line that is going to engage your reader? So you've now got 6 possible first line options. Why not experiment with another 4? Then you will have a total of 10 potential first lines. You can use any single one of them as a jumping off point to get those first few pages going. Just choose one, can be any of them. What matters is you get past that first line and on with the rest of the story. Because remember, other than a single particular short story that goes for sale, baby shoes, never worn, you want to write a novel, not a one-liner.